रख भी लो प्रोडक्ट और उसके साथ साथ we'll also pay you for it.
यार I don't want to get into social media and all. I want to stay authentic with my acting.
इस influencer को नहीं follow करना चाहिए. There are sensitive topics that also influencers promote many a times. How will you know? There's nothing to lose. Wow, this is something nice, and this I should definitely be going.
Isn't that a double-edged sword?
I was getting paid more than I was getting paid at a set for working 12 hours a day.
To be a good person over everything else.
Yes.
Hello everyone, welcome to We Are Art, the podcast. Today's episode revolves around social media. We have the beautiful Sanaya Pithawalla, who is an actress and an influencer, to take us through all the nitty-gritties of it and how to brand yourself better. So she'll tell us about how you can leverage social media and you can up your game as a performing artist and brand yourself better. So let's dive into the podcast and check out what she has in store for us. Thank you. So Sanaya Pithawalla, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So firstly, जब हम marketing कहते हैं, so there is a very dirty connotation to it. कि marketing खुद को brand कौन करेगा? So is that a necessary evil that everyone has to face? An inevitable one? What do you think?
No, I think like how you said that generally people think of it another way, in a bad way per se. I feel like marketing, especially in today's time and today's generation, it's more like a plus and an add-on, because जितना आप अपने आप को market करोगे बाहर, उतना I feel आप जो भी field में होगे, it will help, because the more you're seen out there, the more people know of you, the more you are approached, I would feel.
And we will get into the nitty-gritties of how do we build that brand around us. Before we dive into that, tell me, आपके साथ ये moment कब हुआ था when you realized के because you are an actress first and then an influencer?
Yeah.
So what was the shift? When did that happen? Could you tell us something about that?
So I started with acting, and over the years, social media started coming up. I remember when I was in college, there was an app called Orkut, which I'm sure it was
Before
our
Facebook,
generation.
yeah.
Yeah, when we were Gen Zs. So there was Orkut, and then Facebook happened, and then Instagram happened. And now, because so many social media apps started like building and coming up, people were also more on these apps. So earlier, like I remember there were friends of mine who weren't even on Facebook or Orkut, and they to be like, nahi, is pe nahi aana. But then there came a point where everyone was on Facebook, everyone was on Instagram. And then I don't know, whoever the smart mind was who thought of this, that, you know, let's try to market this app in a way that we get so and so actor on board, so and so influential person on board, and let's give them a brand to promote, where we pay them, or sometimes we, you know, do a barter deal, whereas they give you the product, so you keep it, but then you also promote it for them, and then you post it on Instagram. And that is how Instagram influencing came around, and that's how the whole influencing thing started. So I think for me, that was the shift when Instagram people started approaching, brands started approaching, because Instagram was doing very well, and because I was acting. So I had done a couple of shows that, you know, people knew me from. So a lot of brands were like, you know, can we send you a product, and can you just like put it out there on your Instagram, put a photo or a video and whatever, and tag us, so we get more reach. And I said, okay, sure, why not? I'm getting free gifts, you know. Who would say no? And especially as a girl, makeup, ye wo. So I started off as very minimal, like I would not charge initially, because I didn't know this had money involved in it also. So I would just keep the products, and then I started realizing that, oh, people are also paying for this, because it was getting so much bigger than what it started as. So yeah, and then I stepped into influencing. So I think that was the main shift from acting to like the web space or social media space.
And was there any specific sort of moment that you said, okay, fine, this is a serious thing, not just a side time pass, getting gifts and all. Was that a particular moment where you realized that social media is really blowing up, and we need to capitalize on that?
Yeah, there were many moments like that, because initially when I started with one brand, say like after a week of promoting it, I got a call from another brand. Then after a few weeks, you know, more and more brands started coming in, and I said कि मैं इतना तो free सामान घर पे नहीं रख सकती, और मुझे नहीं चाहिए, तो जो मैं use नहीं करूँगी उसका क्या? And मुझे promote तो करना है. So then they said, you know what? हम आपको एक मिनिमल अमाउंट देंगे, आप प्रमोट करो, आप रख भी लो प्रोडक्ट, और उसके साथ साथ we'll also pay you for it. And then I was like, wow, this is something nice and this I should definitely be doing. So that's how it started, and then I realized that, oh, this is, bigger than what it seems like. And then yeah, it just went on and on and
And
on.
this was back in?
This was back in 2015, 16.
Okay. So
Yeah, so
that's
it's
when
been like almost 10
that's when
years.
you thought this can be a professional thing also, because back
Yeah,
then it wasn't.
it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. But again, there are a lot of influencers who only started out as influencers. Like probably they were doing YouTube or Instagram, but they were not actors or anything. So they built their fan base right from scratch by just doing this promoting and all of that, which is really commendable. And of course, that time there were very few of them because everyone thought कि यार हर कोई तो नहीं कर सकता ये. It's not like feasible. But then now, if you go to see, I mean, we all know that there are how many influencers. Every second person is now influencers.
And can you think of one sort of instance where you thought that this will definitely not work out? Maybe a brand deal or whatever, and suddenly it did work out, and it made a very lasting difference to your
Right.
social media presence.
Yes, so initially when I started out, like I said, I would just get products to keep. So I thought, okay, that's like a once in a while thing I can do. But then when I started getting money for it, I said, okay, it's a little money. It was not a lot, of course. So then I was like, okay, this is like my pocket money kharcha. मेरा खाना पीना का निकल जाएगा types. And I said, ठीक है, why not, But then after that, like people started offering more money, bigger brands started reaching out, like, luxury brands started reaching out, and it was getting higher. And it came to a point where I was getting paid more than I was getting paid at a set for working 12 hours a day.
Wow.
To just make a reel, I was getting paid way more for a brand. So I said, oh, this is serious and this is good. Like, why not make the most of it,
Wow. So did you at any point have a moral dilemma? Ke, yeah, I don't want to get into social media and all. I want to stay authentic with my acting. Was there a dilemma for you?
There was no dilemma, but again, as an actor, वो एक creative satisfaction होता है जब आप set पे हो, आप acting कर रहे हो, वो कैसे समझाओ, like you're expressing a lot, but then again, when you have a brand to promote, it's more like with a brand you get a script and it's very like to the point advertisement type. तो उसमें वो creative satisfaction नहीं है, because it's like हाँ unbox करना है, दिखाना है कैमरा को, ये बोलना है, ये खत्म. तो उसमें आप अपना कुछ as such नहीं डाल सकते. थोड़ा बहुत you can, but हाँ वो है, like I still feel like when I'm on a set, when I'm acting, I am that's kind of my passion, I would say. But when I'm doing my influencing, it's more like, ठीक है, I'm doing it for the perks of it.
All right. So branding yourself is not essentially a logo per se, because you have yourself as a brand. When there are other brands approaching you, how do you stay authentic to yourself while promoting the others? Are you very selective, or what's your process like when you onboard a brand?
So generally every influencer has their own niche, I would say. So for me, I've always liked to keep it real so that I can relate to the audience and the audience can relate to me. And very like natural. I don't like to sell something that I know it's fake, and I don't want to sell it to people, because of course, if I am promoting something, I want to make sure that I like it as well. And the people who I'm asking them to buy it, even they would like it. So otherwise I won't take it on. So mainly, like as a girl, I like to promote a lot of makeup stuff and, outfits and fashion, I would say lifestyle and fashion. So.
And is there any point where you said no to a particular brand? Could you, don't give out the brand, but per se, like where was when you drew a line? ये तो मुझे नहीं करना.
I don't really remember saying no as such for any brand. But again, it depends. Like if there were some products that I felt like, no, it doesn't work for me and I personally don't use this also. So then I would feel like it's wrong. मुझे खुद पसंद नहीं है for whatever reasons. I don't want to sell it to someone else because I don't want to fool the audience. So that is very important.
In fact, that was my next question. That when do you sort of step back and say, this is not me, this will hurt my branding as a person? So which you very well answered right now, that when you don't yourself relate to it, then you don't want to essentially promote that.
You don't want to, because also what happens is sometimes कि for example मैंने एक product promote किया है, उसके बाद बहुत लोग, if that product is not good, मुझे पता है या नहीं पता है जो भी है, but मेरे comments में there will be so many comments, people actually tag and say कि आप ये क्यों promote कर रहे हो, ये हमने order किया, ये अच्छा नहीं था, इसका delivery system अलग अच्छा नहीं था, product अच्छा नहीं था, defective था, ये वो, and it becomes like a big thing. So then you know, people obviously word of mouth हो जाता है, and then they feel like इस influencer को नहीं follow करना चाहिए क्योंकि ये products promote कर रहा है, but वो actually अच्छे है भी नहीं. So that way, so I feel like you have to take care of those things, especially if you're a face of something or you're promoting something out there.
And you also hurt your own brand.
Yeah.
As an influencer when you do something
when
like
you
that.
do something like that.
And coming back to comments that you mentioned, how does an influencer deal with all the vivid, sometimes even cheap kind of comments? Like how?
So I'll be honest, initially it was very bad because I wasn't used to it. So when it started happening to me, I used to feel really bad about it, and I used to take it personally. कि why is this person saying this about me? क्या मैं ऐसी हूँ, क्या मैं ऐसी लगती हूँ, like ऐसे क्यों बोल रहा है types. But then I realized वो मेरे घर वाले नहीं है, वो मेरे दोस्त नहीं है, मेरे भाई बहन नहीं है, तो मेरे कोई नहीं लगते. So why should it matter to me what people are saying? I am doing my job, I am promoting something. I know my people, my friends like it, whatever, but बाकी की दुनिया अगर उनको अच्छा लगना है लगेगा, नहीं लगना नहीं लगे, like. So then after a point I stop paying attention, and it's like पता है आप जितना भी अच्छा करोगे बुरा करोगे लोग कुछ तो बोलेंगे, like that saying.
Yeah.
तो it's okay, लोगों का काम है कहना.
क्या बात है.
तो आप बस you know just follow your thing, and if you know आपके दिमाग में आप सही कर रहे हो, so don't bother about people.
And comes back to what you just said, you are yourself very selective about the brands that you work with.
Yeah.
तो आप खुद ही अपना एक back sort of research कर लेते हो कि if I'm promoting something, it shouldn't backfire and it has to be of a certain quality that goes with my brand as an image.
Right.
Interesting. And what about the constant need of being out there, like content? Don't you get burned out after a point?
You do. Again, to be honest, you do really get burnt out. There are moments and there are times sometimes when I feel like नहीं आज मुझे नहीं post करना, कुछ भी मुझे नहीं डालना है, you know. But then again, I feel like as an influencer, वो आप ज़्यादा breaks नहीं ले सकते because it really affects your page and you know your brand. More offs you take or the more breaks you take and the more less consistent you are in posting and stuff, it really affects because people who like you or follow you, they are always watching out and looking out for seeing your content, you know. And you really don't know sometimes that whose day you make, you know. So I feel like for that reason, I feel like even if I'm exhausted, I feel like नहीं, maybe मेरा content देख के आज किसी का दिन बन जाएगा, so let me do it for them. So.
What are the keys of loyal fan base? How do you create a loyal fan base?
Honestly, I've not thought about this, like what are the keys to it really, but I feel like a lot of people somehow just relate to you as the person you are, and whatever you're putting out there, they connect, you know, be it girls, be it boys, like when you're promoting products, you know, when you talk about things, a lot of people feel like there are sensitive topics that also influencers promote many a times, and people are not okay talking about it. But then when you talk about it and they see that, oh, they are being so confident and openly talking about it and it's looking so nice, so maybe I can too.
Isn't that a double-edged sword? As in, if you're talking about a controversial topic, let's say, where you firmly believe a certain point, but then there is a flip side to it that it may backfire because a bunch of your loyal fan base would prefer the other party which you're not supporting or other cause that you're not supporting.
That is there, but what I meant is in terms of like say body positivity, for example, there are a lot of influencers today who are promoting body positivity, and I feel like that is very much needed topic to talk about because in schools and colleges people get bullied, they get ragged for how they look or whatever, being too fat, too thin, whatever, but people are so confidently now promoting themselves, wearing whatever they want, showing the world that they are confident, and looking at that I feel like a lot of people who were not confident feel like, oh, look at her, like she's looking so nice in it, so maybe even I can wear something like that, you know, that way.
Interesting. And some of the common pitfalls that you can think of that new influencers or even seasoned influencers fall prey to.
But depends with some brands sometimes, like if they ask to promote certain brands and they don't relate to, but again you're getting paid well for it, then you know they might just do it. But then again I feel like you should be very selective and careful. For me, for example, I'll give you a small example, like betting apps for that matter. I know in between, I don't know if you read about it, but there were a lot of controversies and a lot of people kind of got caught because a lot of betting apps are not legal in India, or something like that. So
Yeah.
people actually got caught, and it was like a scam. They were actually scamming people while promoting those certain betting apps. I don't know which ones they were, but they would approach, a lot of people like that would approach, and they would be a scam, but then still you wouldn't know it, or even knowingly you would do it thinking, oh, you're getting the money for it, but then later you can get caught for it.
Matlab,
So
you would get paid. They won't stop your payment, but they will end up scamming people over it
people, yeah.
because you influenced or
Yeah, because
something.
you, and if you are a big influential person, then of course everyone will get to know about it, right?
Hmm. Okay. Now we can, I think, get into the nitty-gritties of it, of building something from scratch, or maybe from a very minimal followers, following base and all that. What are the tactical tips that you would, on the top of your mind, like 3, 4, 5, 6, how many ever you can? So if I were to start my page today and take it more seriously, I already have an existing page, but I want to take it more seriously, become like a full-time influencer and stuff like that. How? What are the first steps to take?
I think the few key things are, first is consistency, very important. You have to be consistent. You have to post as often as you can, like one post a day. It's like it should be there, because the more gaps you take, the more it affects. That would be one. Then second would be, make sure wherever you're shooting your content, you're using good gadgets, you're using a good camera, a good mic, good locations, your background is aesthetic. So all those things matter, because people looking at it, like they want to see something beautiful. So the more aesthetic it looks, and also at the same time you keep it real and raw. I feel like that really works,
Well,
because
isn't that sorry to cut you, but isn't that a contradiction? You want to keep it beautiful and looking very pretty and
yeah,
Instagrammable, so to say, and at the same time keeping it raw. How do you bridge the gap in
exactly. So
between?
that's the I think the main game of it. The person who masters that, I feel like, he'll have, and there are people like that, especially a lot of travel influencers, of course, because they are traveling. They go to such beautiful locations, but the way they shoot it and the way they capture that on camera, it looks even more better. So I feel like that really matters. Using good cameras, just all of those little things.
And previously, when you mentioned about the negativity and some of the not so good comments and all, so eventually you got used to it. And could you highlight on some coping mechanisms that worked for you, or maybe now that you're aware कि अगर कुछ ऐसा हो रहा है तो मैं ये करूँगी so that it doesn't affect my mental state?
Yeah, so there are like a lot of people, they write a lot of cheap comments, abusive language and stuff like that. But thanks to Instagram, they installed a thing where you can actually go into settings, and there's an option where you select in the comments what kind of words you don't want to read, or you don't want them coming on your page. So you just mention all of them, and then you click on done. So then henceforth, if anyone comments those words, Instagram automatically takes them off your profile. And then you, of course, block people. Sometimes if someone is really commenting back to back on your photos or whatever, you're not liking them, then just block them. You have option of blocking. You have option of reporting also. Report is also a very good thing, because someone must be doing it on multiple profiles, right? And people don't know who they are. So if you get yourself and your friends or your fans to report that person, if there are more than, I think, 10, 15 reports on that profile, Instagram will itself like block that profile.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And while marketing yourself and branding yourself, what are the must not do's? Must do's तो आपने बता दिया, but ये आपको करना ही नहीं है. You should stay away from these things while marketing yourself.
I feel like mainly when you're not being yourself, or you're promoting something that is not you, and you don't have your heart and soul in that, then don't do it. Like, don't be fake, which I feel like, honestly, in today's time and whatever I see on social media, more than half of what I see is, I find it very fake. So I feel it's very rare these days to see real raw content, like I said, and fakeness is all over, which is sad, but it's how the world is becoming. So
And let's address a sort of more sensitive topic, which is about skin show. So a lot of people think that getting showing more skin can make you go up the ladder much faster. Do you agree to that? Is that ethical or not? What are your thoughts on this overall?
I mean, see, everything I feel has a boundary, or there's a line you draw. So till a certain point, it's okay. I mean, we all talk about body positivity today and stuff like that. So that's fine. But of course, if you cross that line and there are some people who do a little more, and you know when you see the profile that of course they're doing it because they want the views of
Or the
showing skin.
following.
And yeah, so that is a bit like, I wouldn't personally want to do that, but again I feel like honestly if they feel it's working for them, it's their life at the end of the day, and if they have that follower base and people want to follow them for that, it's fine.
Okay. And just brand's perspective say it's not a good idea, right? to
No,
do-
not at all, not at all. Because no brand would want to associate with you. Like very, very few brands probably would reach out.
All right. So we've got a bunch of rapid fire questions for you. Feel free to answer in one word, one sentence. If you want to elaborate something, please, by all means. First, Sanaya, which app or tool you wouldn't like live without for your content creation?
I think it would be Prequel.
Prequel.
Prequel is a editing app.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prequel. How important is follower count versus engagement rate for performing artists looking for work?
I mean, it is important. It is important, but I feel like engagement rate is way more important, because that shows that okay, today how much your video is performing, or today how much your content has performed, more than followers, because followers of course will stay. I mean, for me, it's more always been on my profile where I've been fighting to get more engagement rate than followers. Luckily, touchwood, I've been blessed to get a good number of following, so followers not a problem.
So engagement triumphs followers.
Yes.
What is your advice to someone who feels inauthentic or awkward or conscious to create social media content?
I feel like they shouldn't bother, because again, you never know who you will connect to, who you will relate to, and who will relate to you. So there are hundreds out there. You may feel that, oh, you're awkward and underconfident and stuff in like portraying whatever you want to, but trust me, take that step, take that leap, go for it, because the response will be great. And when you see that response and you get messages where people are actually telling you that, oh wow, we loved what you portrayed or whatever put out there, then you will feel better and you'll be confident
So
enough
gather
to
the
make
courage and just put it out
put
there.
it out there. How will you know? There's nothing to lose.
Interesting. And is there a लोग कहते हैं कि इनका palette बहुत सही है. Palette or grid as they call it. So how, what's the importance of a fine grid as opposed to you can post whatever you want? Which one do you prefer and why?
So again, that's a very personal thing, because I know I have seen a lot of creators and influencers who follow a particular grid and they feel like that probably works for their profile. But again, I feel it depends person to person, because I personally don't follow that, because I feel like कि मैं जितना उसको दिखाऊंगी कि ये aesthetic होगा, इतना I have to put this and this and this so that it matches. That's not me. In my real life, I am actually very all over the place. So I feel like my profile should be also like that. Like someday I'll put a travel thing, then I'll put a fashion thing, I'll put a brand thing. Like it can be all over the place. So I
So
think that works for me.
it's not a necessity per
No,
se
not
for
for
getting the followers.
No.
Okay. And could you highlight 3 to 4 bullet points for someone starting their journey right now?
I feel like make a bank, very important. If you want to post and make it out there, make a bank of whatever you want to put out there, be it like a podcast or reels or posts or whatever, photo shoots and stuff. Make like a bank of 10, 12 posts ready, and then put in one after the other, so you have enough time to keep making content also.
Wow.
What else? What else? What else? Get a good camera. I think that's very important. And I'm not saying buy like the most expensive one or whatever. Like even till today, even though I'm an influencer, I use my phone camera, which is iPhone, which is got a good camera. I know. Trust me, people are now using DSLRs to shoot their content. They are using these digicams, which are like 1 lakh, 2 lakh plus rupees, because they feel like that works for their profile, because it gives that much clarity, which I to an extent agree to, yes. But then again, we also keep doing photo shoots and we collaborate with photographers. So then you get the mix, you get a mix of both. So I stick to a mix of both, but get one device which is decent to capture everything.
The elephant in the room for today's episode is how do you leverage your social media to the performing artist that you are to elevate it even more?
I feel like it really helps, because if you are a social media personality today, Actually, a lot of casting directors reach out to people who are social media influencers or stars because they have a certain number of following, they have a certain number of reach. And tomorrow, if someone is making a film or a web series or whatever, they want that reach. So, like for example, you cast Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, is because you know that there's so much like audience who love them and they're definitely going to watch it. And now that is how Instagram has become with influencers. There are some of them who are, they have so much fan base and so much reach out there that if they cast them, even if they are not brilliant actors, but just because they are in the show or film, people are going to watch it. Like Big Boss, for example. That really helps grow.
And how do you leverage that? As in, you addressed on what happens when you leverage that, but how do you leverage that? Like, for example, let's take your example. So, your photo shoots and all of that, you post about it, and then the casting directors reach out to you. For someone who may not have the kind of reach that you have, the kind of followers that you have, they are just sort of starting out. They are brilliant actors or performing artists. So how can they leverage their social media?
Oh, like that for them, for those who are starting out.
For those who are starting out, not a big presence online, how do you leverage your performing art with your social media?
Then I feel like, see, if you're a actor and you want to get into acting and you want to try out in social media also, then you can start by recording small scenes, monologues if you want. If you don't have help to with others, just record few monologues from different movies that you like or roles that you relate to, and every day post one monologue. And if you're good at like your job, the people are going to love it.
And this
then
goes,
you never know who's going to see it, where, or who's going to send it to someone, and you get called.
and this goes across the board for every other performing artist as well. You can record your own skill set and then put it on.
See, I mean, Instagram is just a platform, but what you put out there is entirely up to you. So if you are talented, if you're a talented dancer, if you're a talented singer, whatever your talent is, you just showcase it out there. So it's basically a platform and a medium for you to showcase your art, which I think is beautiful.
Wow. Doesn't this get a little overwhelming after a point because you have so many brands you're working with? So how do you manage all by yourself, or you have a team alongside you? How does it work?
So initially it was just me because I had lesser work and lesser things to put out there. But then as Instagram started growing, I realized that people actually started their own agencies, that they had managers who would manage talent. So like, for example, I'm a talent, so I have a manager and I work with an agency where they take a certain percent of commission for getting me a gig or like getting me a brand or campaign on board. And then, they help me shoot it and I put it out there, and they handle all, like they take all the calls and they do all the back end work of it. And I just show up to shoot and promote the product.
Oh, so you don't you don't fall into the nitty-gritties of it.
No, because after a point it gets a lot to handle.
Exactly.
Because you cannot keep the thing. Although there are people who do it by themselves also, a lot of them, but then they have their own personal team. Like they'll have a personal manager, a personal photographer who's with them throughout. And these I'm talking about like the A-list influencers who are really big, who really need their own team. Like they cannot be managed by others. So that's how it is. Otherwise, most people now who are doing decently well, they are with agencies. And there are so many agencies now. I remember when I started out back in 2015, there were 3 to 4 agencies. And I remember I signed with one of them, and we were a total of 6 to 7 influencers. And now today, that agency and every other agency I know of have like more than 50, 60 talents on board. So you can imagine how many creators there are right now.
So how can a talent onboard an agency or sign up with an agency? What's the process? Do they reach out, or do you have to reach out to them? How does it work?
It depends both ways. Like I have reached out by agencies to sign me, and then you have a meeting with them. But otherwise, if you also want to sign up with an agency, you can find out online how many agencies there are, what they do and stuff. And then they all have their Instagram pages. They have their mail IDs on them. So you can just drop a mail or text or DM them.
Okay.
And I think DM has made a lot of people's lives so much easier, because you don't sit and put up mail anymore. You just DM the person and it's like done right there. I don't know if that's making us more lazy, honestly, or helping us, but you just message them directly.
And are there any prerequisites that you have? कि इतना तो होना ही चाहिए आपका following so that they'll get you on board? What is it?
Honestly, in today's time, because there are so many agencies, trust me, I don't think that really matters. If you have a good profile, and even if you don't have the reach and following, but your work is good, your content is good, they will help you grow your page. So there are a lot of agencies who have actually taken the risk of signing a lot of people from rural parts of India actually, and made them build their page. And
Wow.
now they are really famous. Like I'll give you one example, that is Nancy Tyagi. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's from Delhi, if I'm not wrong, and she's a influencer, and she basically makes her own outfits from scratch. And she's gone to Cannes and everything now. Like since the
Wow.
last 2 years, she's been a part of Cannes. But also that really helped her, and she got that push because, of course, she was brilliant at her work, but she has an agency to back her.
Lovely.
So
So
they
you get that
actually,
professional sort of guidance
yeah,
which
and
is
the
behind it.
yeah.
Brings me to the entrepreneurial side of it. A lot of people are starting their own businesses on Instagram and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So is it different than me starting my business? So should I make two different pages, or should I have my business in my own page? What do you recommend for someone who's starting off?
So again, there are a lot of influencers who have built a brand now, and they have their own separate brand. It can be into one, but mostly it's better to have it separate, because of course, if you are anyways going to promote it a bit on your page, and then you say that, you know what, for like to buy this product, follow more on this. So then you have your other page also, which is your brand page mainly, and you keep both like going on. But I think that's a brilliant idea, and a lot of people have made so much money on that, because they realize that they are getting so much reach to promote brands, and there are brands from outside approaching them. So then they realize that, you know what, let me just start my own brand, because I have the reach, people are coming to me. So why not I promote my own product and get my own people, you know? So which is great. And that also, there are so many influencers like that who have like a really good brands now.
So who have their own clothing line, let's say. Or
Yeah,
stuff
clothing
like that.
line, hair extensions. There's Parul Gulati. She has her own hair extensions, and she's an actor and influencer. So I feel like that works for her really well.
Beautiful. So that was, I think, pretty much it in the universe of social media and how a performing artist can leverage social media to their own benefit. And anything as a closing line, if you want to tell the audience right into the camera.
I would just say, like, personally, I have always followed my dreams, and I never set a plan or like a goal in mind that, oh, I will do this, or I want to do this in the future and stuff. I just felt like work on myself, work hard, and life just flows. I feel like God has plans for you, so just follow that. Be good, do good. That is very important. If you're doing good, you will get good. That's what I've always believed and lived by. So yeah, and just chase your dreams, and you will get where you want to be.
So be a good person over everything else.
At the end of the day, I think that's what matters.
Lovely. Thank you so much for your time on our podcast, and it was lovely to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So the episode was filled with the things to do and not do when you create your social media presence. And Sanaya Pithawalla nicely guided us through the to do's and not do's. And I hope you got immense value out of it. How to make your brand, how to still stay relevant and put your authentic self out there. So hope you liked what we shared. And if you have any suggestions, please comment below and we'll try to rectify them or modify them in the next episodes. In the meantime, comment, like, and subscribe to our channel, and we'll bring you another guest with a completely different topic to up your game in performing arts. Until then, we are Art signing off. Take care.
There is one thing called art के मामले में बात करते हैं और एक है आपको अपना घर चलाना है. आप डूबोगे तो पार हो जाओगे.
Everything can't be gifted to you.
How space and sexuality is kind of related to each other. That कि आपने ये काम किया नहीं है तो चुपचाप करो पहले. मैंने थिएटर क्रैक कर लिया. थिएटर ने जो थप्पड़ मारा मुझे, मैं साउथ दिल्ली का बॉय, इंग्लैंड रिटर्न, मैं प्रोडक्शन की चाय लेकर आऊं, तो मुझे रियलाइज हुआ यार एक ही लाइफ है.
सब कर लो.